Greetings, citations. My name is Traphead. Welcome back to another video on my channel. I still don't have a name for these vlogs, but that's okay. So there's a lot of my family and friends who've been asking me what it was like facing my own mortality and accepting it. I think the reason why is because there's a lot of people who keep dying from COVID, and they're probably experiencing someone that just passed away and wants kind of like an insight onto what their final moments were like. I have to explain this to them that not everyone's final moments are the same. Everyone faces the end a different way. There's even like a term for this where it's like the 5 stages of death, where they go through all of these different emotions before they finally accept it towards the end. But the way that they accept it can come about differently for each person. It's not the same every time. Mine was different, and I know this. Now, before I explain what it was like, I want to explain the symptoms I had. It was all of them. I had every symptom that you could catch from COVID. The hospital gave me this like thick stack of paper of what COVID is. If you want like a full video of me reading through this whole thing, I wouldn't mind that. It's okay. It'd be a couple videos though. But in the back here, it pretty much says when to call your healthcare provider. And there's like a list of symptoms as to when you should call them. Trouble breathing that gets worse. Pain or pressure in the chest that gets worse. Blue tints on lips or face. Fast or irregular heartbeat. Confusion or trouble waking. Fainting or loss of consciousness, and coughing up blood. I did all of those. My breathing was so shallow, it was like it was like that. Like I couldn't get enough oxygen to my brain. My fever didn't break. In fact, it was just constantly at a high temperature. In fact, it looks like I'm having a fever right now. That's a little bit better. A little bit of oxygen. Sorry if you could hear it. It's just hot in my room. So I was having dizzy spells. I had a shallow breath. Whenever I stood up and walked, my heart felt like it was literally beating into my throat. And my heartbeat was beating way too fast. It got to the point where I couldn't shower standing, and I had to like start bathing myself sitting down in the tub, which I'm sure to a lot of people that's like normal, but I don't normally bathe, I shower. So having to sit was like a new experience for me because I couldn't stand. In fact, when I was done with the bathing process, I would have to have dried off sitting down. Like I would sit on the toilet and I would dry off on the toilet. And then I would put my clothes on the toilet. I would brush my teeth on the toilet. I would do all of the necessary things to keep hygienic sitting, because I couldn't do it standing. Otherwise, I would have blacked out. In fact, the process of going from the bathroom to where I was sleeping almost blacked me out. Like I would start losing my vision halfway back to where I was sleeping. My coughs hurt because it was like in my lungs, and my lungs felt like someone was squeezing them already. I couldn't really form words, which sucked because there was a lot of family and friends that were trying to call me, and they were like, yo, hey, how's your dad doing? He's in the hospital, right? How's he doing? And I can only respond back to them with, he's doing better. I'm not even joking about that. Here's a big problem. I had diarrhea and I was vomiting every hour. I timed it, and it was every hour on the hour. No matter how much liquids I put into my body, I would just poop it out or vomited it out. I was so dehydrated that my lips were chapped. They were so chapped that they bled, and they bled often. My hands and feet were like so dry that they were blistering. And even though I was bathing regularly, they never pruned. It was weird. I could have been in the shower for a full hour and my hands and feet would not prune. They would just stay smooth, dry, nothing happening to them. The entire week, when I was by myself, essentially, the entire week I was like, wow, this is going to suck if I die like this, because no one's going to know I died. But there was one day when it got at its worst. I remember I couldn't move. I had pins and needles throughout my entire body. I just didn't have enough energy to stand up. And my breath was so shallow, it was almost like just the gentlest breathe. I couldn't speak, and I couldn't get up. I ended up starving that day. I couldn't get any food because I couldn't stand up. My lips were bleeding. I could taste blood on my lips. I was scared to fall asleep that night because I thought I was going to die in my sleep. That like I was going to stop breathing and that was going to be it. There was a moment where I was just furious because I didn't understand why the doctors let me go. They knew I had COVID. They knew I had pneumonia, and they still let me leave. They let me leave out the hospital, and I was mad about that. And I remember I prayed so hard, that God wouldn't take my life, that he would just let me stay. I was desperate. I was a desperate man. But the most interesting part of the whole experience was I felt sad. Not because I was going to die. Sure, I had regrets. There was a lot of projects I wanted to do, and I just felt like I never did them. I always pushed off my projects for some other day. I thought, I'm going to do these things later on in the future. I don't have to worry about it. And then on my deathbed, I regretted not doing them. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to make a movie. I wanted to make a play. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to make my own song. There were so many projects I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to do them. And I wouldn't be able to, because I was going to die. And I remember feeling sad because not for my sake, but for the people I was going to leave behind. Because I knew what my death would mean to them. I knew how devastating it would have been for all the people who knew me, who loved me, who cared for me, and it was going to destroy them. And I felt this overwhelming grief for them. And it was a weird sensation to be sad for the pain I was going to cause to someone else versus being sad of losing my own life. I was more concerned about how they felt more than how I felt. I remember waking up the next morning and I was confused as to why I was still alive. I started having thoughts of death would be better. That death could not have been as painful as the experience I was going through. And that's when I truly knew that I had accepted my mortality, because I was wishing for death. It sucked. It sucked so much. The healing process of what I went through sucked. And I don't wish that on anybody. I do not wish what I went through on a single soul. I'm glad that I got better. That I could start filming again. That I can now work on these projects. My book is coming along fantastically. Since facing my own mortality and accepting my death and having my regrets and feeling sad for the people I was going to leave behind, I kind of have a new outlook on life. Not in the way of, I'm no longer going to be depressed. I will be happy all the time. But more of, I don't want to put off my projects anymore. And I want to start doing them. Because death is closer than we think. Death is just literally around the corner. I know we've heard that before, but it's true. And it comes like that, when you're not expecting it. And I don't want to have that experience again where I'm on my deathbed And I'm thinking back on my life and realizing that there's so many projects that I kept pushing off, and now I can't do them. But that's my story. Now you know. Now everyone should know how bad off I really was. It wasn't just a simple cough, sneeze. It wasn't just a simple, oh, he's got a little bit of a fever, but he'll get over it. I honestly thought I was going to die. I believed it. I had 3 separate symptoms that told me I was going to die. Dehydration, fever, not breathing. One of those could have killed me. Any 3 of those things. The recovery was hard. It was harsh. Sure, that one particular day was pretty bad, but the recovery itself was bad. It was really bad. I made a video where I even said that I thought the recovery was the hard part, but getting the green light is even harder. Now that you know what I went through, maybe that joke would be a little bit more funnier. If you reached this far, thank you so much. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you have a similar story or some other story about your COVID experience, please put it in the comments down below. I would love to hear your story about your COVID recovery. If you want to help support this channel, please hit the subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And I hope to see all of you in the next video.